Good afternoon, ECCT. Starting this week, continuing with Philippians, our devotion series on this letter that Paul wrote while in prison. Today we'll be looking at chapter 1, verses 27 to 30. Short little passage, but continuing on with some powerful themes of what it means to live for the gospel of Christ, and how to rejoice in this kind of life. And so this is chapter 1, verses 27 to 30. Only let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or am absent, I may hear of you that you are standing firm in one spirit, with one mind, striving side by side for the faith of the gospel, and not frightened in anything by your opponents. This is a clear sign to them of their destruction, but of your salvation, and that from God. For it has been granted to you that for the sake of Christ you should not only believe in him, but also suffer for his sake, engaged in the same conflict that you saw I had, and now hear that I still have. Powerful words here from Paul, and obviously kind of the major point to take away from this passage is said right in that first verse: let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ. So think about all that the gospel means for us, for the people around us. It's the good news of God's free gift of salvation that has now come in Jesus Christ. And think about Jesus' ministry on earth, right? How he healed the sick, how he delivered the poor, how he taught the masses, how he embraced the outcast, how he turns the whole world upside down with his understanding of power, of leadership, of loving your enemies. All of these things contained in the gospel. Now think about that and compare that to your life. How does your life measure up to the standards of the gospel? That's what Paul means when he says, let your manner of life be worthy of the gospel of Christ. So when a person looks at your own individual life, all your decisions, the decisions you make in public, the decisions you make in private, the activities, the habits you have, can you honestly say to yourself, is my life worthy of the gospel? And if not, right, this is Paul's encouragement to continue to strive for that, because we are all living by grace and grace alone. We are all forgiven. There's no longer any condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. But at the same time, Christ does not call us to remain where we are, right? Doing whatever we want, whenever we want. He calls us to strive for sanctification, for greater Christ-likeness, for greater godliness, for the sake of his kingdom and the building of his kingdom. And so Paul says, let your life be worthy of the gospel of Christ. And one of the major things that show a strong sign that you are living your life worthy of the gospel is that you are willing to suffer for Christ, suffer for his sake. So it's not only a matter of belief, intellectually, emotionally professing faith in Christ, but it's taking action and making those sacrifices for him, willing to suffer, just as Paul, as he is writing this letter, is suffering in prison, and yet also rejoicing. And so these are important things for us to consider, whether or not we are willing to suffer for Christ.